All right, hello again. This is Ben Hitchcock Cross talking to you today. We've got the Milwaukee Public Schools operational review, otherwise known as the Governor's Audit, coming at you. So we're going to just go through that. As far as I understand, my esteemed colleague did the executive summary. So we'll go from there. Are you ready? I'm kind of excited. The one personal tidbit that I will share with you today is that I managed to go see Smokey and Honey, and we walked through snow, which is literally the first time I think we've done that ever this year. I can put it like that. It's middle of February. Um, there's good and bad in all things, but if you're going to accept the good and the bad of living in Wisconsin, you should at least get some snow, right? All right. That looks more beautiful. Okay. Findings and recommendations for improving central office operations. Ooh, I like that. And not central services in service of academic excellence for all Milwaukee Public School students. I just heard that. So they changed it from central offices, which it had been throughout my lifetime and in the recent past, to central services because they're providing a service, not an office. But it is a building. And the building doesn't serve. People could say that. Anyways, MGT, what they are, maybe somebody else can look into that another time. Executive summary. We are going to go straight to findings and recommendations. You gotta love PDFs in some format. I mean, for $2 million, right? One would expect the the PDF links to work. Findings and recommendations. And now I'm going to try to break this out to be fair to everybody. And I want to say, I think more than anything else, um, I'm going to acknowledge all the work that this channel has done and everybody that's behind it for the work that they've done to make this happen. And in my mind, um, and of course I'm a megalomaniac, but in my mind, I feel that but for our work, they would never have done anything like this. Um, and I'm going to put that a better way, I think. But for our work and the work of others, um, what's that children's book about the steam shovel, the old time steam shuttle? It's not Katie because that's the snowplow. But remember, they like with his operator and the steam shovel and others, they dug the canals. With him, they dug the basements for the tall buildings. But they always had that comma and others there. All right. This section below provides detailed findings and recommendations for each strategic goal. I didn't even get the whole thought out. The whole thought was this. We want to, I'm going to abuse the language in this thing directly. And I'm hopefully that will be taken um, as a separate than the analysis on the findings themselves and sort of the like I told you so's. I'm going to try to confine the I told you so's to what we just did here. But we do really feel that but for this channel, this would never have happened. And that much of what they have found found was things that we had been shouting from the rooftops, and that people stopped listening after we put it on the air, and then people stopped listening. So then we had to create a channel, and then we had to do a lot of things, and others came to board meetings and others, but there was a lot of time there. I feel like we and very very much Debbie Keither was on her and our own there. So here we are. Goal and I want to say that it's just weird how the government works and very anti-democratic, to put it another way. How the government, this is sort of their version of hearing us. And there's a lot of ways that we could be more heard, let's put it like that, then that wouldn't cost $2 million. We could have and had wrote this all down. Now I get it that we can't say, hey, governor's office thinks Deb Keither is right. Totally get it. But at the same time, we may need to think a little bit more. I want to put it like this. we have sat through a lot of indigenous land acknowledgments um, at board meetings, and I think that they are valuable to think about there. I've always just questioned how performative I thought they were. Uh, questioned them because I thought they were so performative. And sometimes, though, and I can't remember where this quote is from, but somebody said that, which is like, hey, everybody just wants to be acknowledged. And, I think we can all put those two thoughts together however we want. But I think it needs to be acknowledged. And I'm gonna go on a limb and acknowledge ourselves and Deb Keitha. Goal number one, create a coherent central system. Ooh. See, if you think that they got the three C's right in there, to orient district central systems di- directly towards student success. Okay, I'm getting a little golden carrot medallions here, but I like the alliteration. I also like the orient word and the directly towards. I like that from a writing perspective. MPS must prioritize key actions, aligning structures, strategies, and okay. That is a freaking $2 million sentence if I ever saw one. O-M dang. And it verges on non-mush. Dang. Okay, completely out of context, that is a very good sentence. By focusing on the following three objectives, the district can enhance organizational effectiveness and foster greater alignment across departments. Okay, objectives is bold here because the titles of the objectives themselves are also bold. I guess that works. Number one, restructure central office. Okay, to clarify roles, streamline decision making, and improve alignments across departments. Okay, I'm going to give one example that we have shown a lot of records about. That one, for example, is there is a human resources department that could be called human capital or employee rights or employee relations or all sorts of things like that. There is also a office of board governance and Matt Chasen's office of accountability and efficiency. And there's also the superintendent's office. All three of those things are in theory sort of like co-equal ish, not co-equal because the superintendent is clearly, but there's like they're operating and they do the same investigation and whatever else. And sometimes they'll do one, start it there, go take it from employee rights and send it to employee relations and things like that. And we've posited that those blurred lines of accountability are purposely muddied um, to hide decision making, which is one of the reasons when we say that they change the names as frequently as they do. That I think is also to an attempt to change accountability. So I don't approve alignment doesn't mean anything, but I would okay, there's kind of a hint there. When they say improve alignment, you remember as a lawyer's trick, the alignment could be at 0 or at -5 billion, right? So, but when you hear the word improve alignment, you're gonna think, man, it's got to be at a 10 or 15 at least, right? Well, in this case, it could be, remember, getting from -51 billion to negative 49 billion is an improvement. So that I would agree with streamlined decision making and clarify roles. Now, another thing I would add with all this is Matt Chasen literally wrote this report. Tony Baez literally wrote this report. Uh, I'm trying to think of where else, what other sources on the way here that have this, that have literally, there's been audit. The Baker Tilly report, right? The Baker Tilly audit, $2 million audit 4 years ago, literally said the same thing in my recollection. Number two, invest in the Office of Human Resources by enhancing leadership, building capacity. Oof. USAID builds capacity, you know what I mean? And providing external support to address immediate needs and sustain long-term growth. Okay. Okay. Here's kind of what I'm getting is give the human resources the ability to follow the law. That's the way that I'm translating that. And as if you don't recall, um, many people, and what this is going to allege ultimately is that the superintendent kind of does whatever they want to that position. And so the human resources, again, the problem there, and we've seen this elsewhere, is that because the head of the human resources is not a chief, is something below a chief, if the problem is a chief or above, then nothing can be done. Make targeted shifts to the strategic plan to focus on a select number of high impact priorities with measurable outcomes to better align efforts with the district's overarching goals. Right. Fine. That's called find make a list of 5 things and do them and prioritize them and do them in that order. Really good method of solving problems, especially on an organization. The following sections will dive deeper into the findings and recommendations for achieving these objectives. I think that's Bill Hansen, the head of General Motors during World War II, if I've got the Danish last name right. The unclear reporting lines and siloed, that you knew that word was coming, departmental structure within MPS's central office significantly hinders the district's ability to drive student success. Okay. I don't like that word verb, that verb drive there, but we'll take it. The complexity of the district's organizational chart creates barriers to efficiency and progress, which inhibits its ability to create, okay, the condition. Yeah, okay. Those are all nonsense, but so far we've got the second half is nonsense. The complexity of the district's chart creates barriers, okay? The district is too complex. Got it. Okay. People are unclear who's in charge, and multiple departments are working on the same thing. And it's too complex. I think that's that. There we go. Stakeholder interviews. And remember, here we go. Highlighted the ambiguity here. This is what we're talking about in roles and responsibility of key entities, such as the Office of Accountability and Efficiency, the Office of Board Governance, the MPS Board, and District Leadership. This lack of clarity has led to overlapping responsibilities, fragmented workflows, limited. Okay. I don't. This is something that it never ceases to amaze me because when people go in there, I think they know this, but the board is supposed the majority of the board is supposed to be what controls the school district. So to even have a sentence in there to say overlapping responsibilities between the employees of the board and the board itself makes highly ambiguity and responsibilities. I'm guaranteeing you that means Matt Chasen is talking there. Absolutely guarantee you, which is not wrong. Um, this lack of clarity has led to overlapping responsibilities. limiting the district's ability to operate as a cohesive unit. Okay. Nobody knows who's in charge or who's doing what, which is making us less effective. Okay. For instance, legislative have shifted between reporting to the board and the district multiple times, reflecting the blurred lines in MPS's organizational hierarchy. I don't agree with that. Okay, so what's happened there, and this is not uncommon. A position will report just directly to the board. First, they'll report to the administration. The board will feel like they're not getting the right information, so they'll have somebody report directly to them. That's what the Office of Accountability and Efficiency is. It has separate HR functions to like go in and investigate. But then, the superintendent, but then ultimately is, even though it reports to the board, works with the superintendent. What I'm rejecting about this statement is that I don't think that these things are really that unclear on paper or to the people involved. For instance, the legislative policy position has shifted between reporting to the board and district multiple times, reflecting the blurred lines. Yet, additionally, communication roles housed in both the Office of Board Governance and the District Office of Communication and School Performance contribute to misaligned messaging rather than a coherent narrative. Okay, the board's making its own messages and the superintendent is making its own. I don't see what that doesn't. I disagree with that. I think the superintendent should be having their own messaging, and I think the board should be having its own messaging when it happens. And I think there's definitely times when the board may say something that the administration doesn't say that they're not aligned on, which is okay. The answer is to not have one person say the thing. The answer is for the public to know where the misalignment is. And right. I don't think that that sounds like that's coming from the board. I don't The board itself does not need a cohesive narrative. Different factions of the board people can disagree on the board and have their own statements that they can give. The majority of the board can have a spokesperson make a statement, but even then it's kind of weird because the board doesn't really, unless they approve the statement ahead of time. Yeah, that's a little weird, but hey, inconsistency in role titles complicate procedures such as onboarding. At least one senior leader's title changed between the interview and the contract signing process. Additional role titles are not standardized across departments, creating uncertainty about precise responsibility, roles, and authority. And that goes back to what I said before about how the positions are many times for the individual, not for the work. I think that's what that I'm making that tie between that statement and that comment in the audit. Key positions have functionally shifted departments, and interviewees shared that reporting structures are confusing. Okay, and we've said here plenty of times before that we think that's on purpose to blur the lines of accountability. For example, Department of Technology Services has been relocated across at least 4 departments, resulting in a lack of strategic alignment and diminished effectiveness. And we've talked about this theory, and we've raised it before. This is from David Graeber's Bullshit Jobs as much as anything else, that these sort of chief positions here are as much about counting heads of subordinates like feudal retainers as much as anything else. So um, I'm positing here, but I have no idea why that some of these switching around has to do with the positionality of the subordinate with relationship to the superintendent. Do you get what I'm saying? Like the Tokugawa retainers are going to be classified in order of where they participated in the Battle of Sekigahara. All right, please forgive my terrible Japanese pronunciation. but I think the feudal retainer concept is apt at least. Okay. Additionally, the Department of Equity, Access, and Inclusion, positive behavior intervention, and support and restorative practices, that can't be one thing. It is. No way. And the Department of Equity, Access, and Inclusion, Black and Latino male gender identity and inclusion currently fall under the office of the Chief of Staff, but are functionally run by the Chief of Academics. All right, that's kind of amusing. Um, I would say the length of the titles also are indication of problems, let alone that's when we say blurred lines there, that's what I would say. Currently fall under the office of Chief of Staff, but are functionally run under the Chief of Academics. I don't know who the Chief of Staff, I don't know anything about the situation, but I'm guessing the feudal Lord Count falls under one of those offices and the competency falls to another. That's my guess. But that's a fantastic example. These equity departments are also example of board member champion initiatives that have unclear and likely overlapping objectives. Okay, and we've talked about that before, um, here and elsewhere, where part of the reason why this administration slash board is not as frequently reactive is because what will happen is board members will get have their pet projects and which will be sort of championed by the administration, and then the board members will cease to function as adequate oversight, because they think that their things are getting moved forward, their agenda is being moved forward, but in fact the initiatives are being put forward in sort of a Potemkin, half-hearted showmanship, showed, I don't know how to, all but name kind of fashion, if that makes sense. Addressing these structural inefficiencies requires a streamlined organizational chart with clearly defined roles and responsibilities. Additionally, hiring strategic-minded leaders to oversee, and this is another one again, that everything there is reactive. And I think that that's fair to say is, where do we want to be in 5 years? Oh, okay. What do we need to do it? Great. Let's make a list of 5 things, prioritize them, and do them in that order. Additionally, hiring strategic minded leaders to oversee district operations and reallocating existing talent to create cross functional teams will help to break down departmental silos, enhance collaboration, increase MPS's capacity to deliver excellent results for students. I mean, I think what that means, though, to be clear, is a change of culture. That's what that means, and which is important to understand. But that's what that means. I'm sorry, I'm having such problems here. It's the angle of these lights are getting to me today. All right. A clear organizational structure is essential for providing employees with clarity on roles and responsibilities, allowing for streamlined decision making and operation efficiency. Number one, clarify roles of independent offices by developing guiding documents to articulate the roles, responsibilities, and collaboration structure of OAE, Office of Board of Governance, MPS Board, and MPS Administration. Um, we may have to pause it right there for today. We'll see how much. We'll go to the end of this page. Just give me 1 second. So this is the last thing that I got time for, but I just wanted to introduce you to a little page, chapter 3 of the board governance policies, board staff relationship. Let's go to board appointed officials. Overview. The superintendent shall serve as the executive in charge of the administration and shall be appointed by the board in a manner provided by law. Duties of the superintendent of the schools. Duties of the board chief. Chief officer, Office of Board Governance. Duties of the Office of Accountability and Efficiency. When was this last updated? 4/2/2024. Okay, so the current board is aware of this document. We can say that. And I think we can be clear that this is what I guess that's why this that's the biggest shortcoming, and this is what I'll finish here with this today. The biggest shortcoming of this report is these things we didn't need $2 million to tell us these things because we already created and put them in writing. What we need to do is to follow this law that we already created called the governance policies of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors, and to say and to have these people follow. I don't think. I mean, I guess they don't say this is blurry, but they say that there's some blurred relationships. So that means how people are following them is blurry. That's what the real problem is here. So, yeah, I'm on blurry my foot, I guess, to depart from alliteration on this one. So, yeah, I'm not quite there yet. Not quite there yet at all. Office of Accountability shall evaluate the fiscal performance, shall oversee the board's audit function, shall ensure compliance with contracts, is responsible for enhancing, and it could be ambiguous, but I don't think so. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll keep you informed.